Ladies and gentlemen, every day in the world of chess, something exciting happens. We either get a crazy AI game, which here in October of 2024, I just covered yesterday. We get some low Elo Chess sent in by a subscriber brave enough to show themselves on this channel. We have some sort of drama. Somebody hides a cell phone in a toilet at a tournament. Somebody punches somebody. But sometimes somebody just plays a really good game of chess. In fact, sometimes somebody just plays 6 really good games of chess. At the time of recording this video, International Master Carissa Yip is 6-0 in the United States Women's Chess Championship. As I'm recording this video, she is playing her 7th game. I'm going to see how her tournament pans out. If she can go 11-0, it would be one of the most incredible competitive accomplishments I can ever remember. But in this video, I'm going to show you one of the games she played. This was crazy. I've never seen a game like this, ever. And I exaggerate a lot because I'm a content creator. I've really never seen something like this. It was a gem of a game. It was a fascinating opening. In fact, I learned something from this game, and I'm going to play this opening myself now with black. So, also, friendly reminder, in about 3 to 4 days, my chessboard drops. That chessboard that you see back there, it's a magnetic wooden chessboard, foldable. Can't really take it on planes, but if you want to play on it or get it as a holiday present or hit somebody over the head with it for legal reasons, that's a joke. It does come out. There's a link in the description. I also put a QR code here. You can go to the Walmart website. You can make sure that you get notified when it drops. And I'm going to tell you guys, like 8,000 people have clicked on the link, and there's only 15,000 of these boards. So if you're interested, check it out fast. All right, make sure you go on the website. Keep checking it periodically. It does drop, I think, in the next couple of days. Yeah, maybe when you're watching this in the future, it's already out. Maybe it's sold out. I have no idea. If it's sold out, ask them to restock the shelves. So this game was played. Oh wow, I already jumped a step and I made Carissa a grandmaster. I mean, I'm foreshadowing. She's actually only an international master, which is weird because we have the same chess title, but she's 70 points higher rated than me. Now, actually, she's quite inspiring because she was like 2,400, then she went down to 2,350. And then she went back up to 2420 and is now 6-0 in the United States Championship. And she's actually the defending U.S. Women's Champion. So she's trying to defend her title. So she lost some rating, she gained it back, and it just goes to show you that, I've lost some rating. I've gained it back, I lost some rating. So, I look forward to being 24-18 one day again. Now, her opponent, very experienced, like the most successful woman in America in this championship, like 8-time U.S. Women's Champion or something, opens the game with the English. Carissa plays what she usually plays. She really likes to play these modern systems to take people out of their comfort zone. Her opponent very quickly retakes the center with d4 and wants to play e4, and now Carissa plays c5. Now, when I told you Carissa played an opening I've never seen before, I've seen this before. This opening is called the beefeater. Yes, like the beefeater. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, I'm very sorry. But actually, a beefeater is like the British term for like the people or the suits they wear. I don't know. It's very strange. Basically, you play c5, and then you give up your dark squared bishop. It is a radical transformation of the opening, and you have dark squared weaknesses, but white has a very bad pawn structure. This is a very interesting opening, and normally what I play here, and what I recommend in one of my courses, is the move f5. And the point is, white just struggles to play e4, and actually the top computer move is literally to gambit the pawn. Most people don't do that. Carissa play, and if you check the database, by the way, it's like all f5. It's like f5, queen a5, and that's it. Now, the move that she plays here, I have never seen in my life, and I'm going to play it now. And that move is e5. Now, this move on its own is not particularly spectacular. But remember, the point is to play f5, put the knight on f6, fight for the e4 square, and then fight for these pawns, right? But e5 is interesting because if white takes en passant, black actually is going to take like this and lose the right to castle. Why? Because castling doesn't matter right now. Castling matters, but not when there's no queens on the board. Your king is just going to hang out somewhere. He's going to be fine, and these pawns are horrendous. They are doubled, isolated pawns. Black will spend the rest of the game trying to win them. White's traditional 2-bishop advantage is really not felt here. So in the game, Irina played e4, and Carissa played d6, and now we have to play this position. It's just kind of like a closed position, and white has a worse pawn structure. But white has the traditional advantage of having the bishop pair. If you're watching this and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's better to have 2 bishops because they're long-range pieces, right? So, but how's this bishop ever going to be useful? So now we have bishop d3, just developing a piece. Knight d7, just developing a piece. It's not really clear where that knight is going yet. If I'm playing with white, I'm really considering f4, but it's actually not a good move. It's actually not a good move, and black very quickly completely dominates the position. f4 is just not a good move, which is why Irina plays knight e2. She's playing pretty quickly. I don't think she's familiar with the position, but she's playing completely reasonable moves. Carissa plays queen to e7. White castles, because, you know, we're taught develop toward the center and castle your king. And now Carissa begins showing the deeper hidden ideas of this opening, and she plays the move h5. I have no idea what on earth h5 is doing. Like, I can hypothesize you're trying to play knight h6, but again, the major question here for me is, can white successfully play f4? Why do I keep looking at f4? Because in any position, you have to ask yourself this question, okay? You have to ask yourself, how am I so good looking and smart and capable? And if you don't have those thoughts about yourself, one day you will. Life is long. And sometimes your self-confidence and self-esteem takes a hit. But you can totally get it back, and I believe in you. Now, once you're done regaining your confidence, the second thing you should ask yourself is, who has the pawn breaks in the position? Whose pawns can open up things? Only f4. That's the only move for white. Every other pawn is doing nothing. And you're not going to go here because you'll lose, right? So f4 is the major question. Now, Irina here plays a4. She spends 6 minutes. This is kind of a normal move. She's just taking space on the other side of the board. And Carissa shows her understanding of the position, plays a5. She's playing a5 because she's building a dark squared wall. She gave up her dark squared bishop radically on the 4th move of the game in a move that, to a beginner, doesn't look like it makes any sense at all. But now she replaces all her pawns on dark squares and basically renders white's bishops kind of ineffective. The light squared bishop stands behind pawns on light squares. The dark squared bishop stares at dark squared pawns, right? And now we get rook b1. But again, I still have the question of what about f4? And this was probably the final moment for Irina to do it. Now if black plays, for example, h4, continues with her plan to just take space, you know, white shouldn't go f5, probably. And if white takes on e5, you know, you put the knight there and you're very happy. And apparently black is just chilling here. So after a4, a5, you know, rook b1 played relatively quickly. Black plays h4 now, right? Maybe g5, just takes space away. If black rushes with g5, white sneaks the knight to f5. So actually the idea of h4 here is very clever because, you know, let's say h3, then you go g5. And let me tell you something, this is not coming out and this is not happening. I mean, black is, to me, practically speaking, black is better here. Black's just better here. I mean, white has some space, but if black just plays b6 and even bishop a6, I mean, you'll never get in. And this is not necessary. The knight guards this, so there's no way in. The only piece that can get in on that side of the board is this knight. And I don't know how that's going to happen, because to get to b5, you have to go via a3, via b1, via c2. How do you even get to c2? You got to go to e1. To get to e1, you got to go from f3. So maybe you got to go knight g1, knight... You got to go knight g1, knight f3, knight e1, knight c2, knight a3, knight b5. And then I got to tell you something. What next? You play all those moves. You go ba 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 ba, and then what? Nothing. Nothing happens. I mean, I just make sure you don't fork me. Plus, I can always trade off the bishop for the knight. So at this point, Carissa begins genius plan number 1. She plays king to d8. She should have probably shut down Irina on that side of the board. She plays king d8. When your opponent in the middle of the game starts walking the king through the field like House of the Dragon Season 2, you know you've messed up. Like, the opponent is quite literally just strolling over here and is going to play b6, is going to set up their little hut, is just going to fall asleep. That must be pretty demoralizing. At this point, I would lash out. I mean, you just have to. But it's not an easy move to play. And, you know, Irina plays bishop e3. She's just making preparations. Well, Carissa keeps walking her king. She just walks the king to c7, because actually the king is totally fine. I already told you the knight could get to b5, but it's going to take like 47 moves. So she plays rook b5. Very natural move. But where are the threats? Knight c1, knight b3 maybe, but then I just play b6 and you get your rook trapped. Carissa plays h4. Again, it's just a question of, can white play f4, or does that only help black? White plays queen d2. White is making a lot of completely reasonable moves, and yet it feels like there is no plan. It feels like you're just improving. But what is the plan? Carissa plays rook a6. Carissa also, for the record, is kind of struggling to maneuver here but you can sort of see the makings of an attack, right? Queen b2, and now g5. So now this has been shut down, this has been shut down. Carissa, evidently, according to the computer, should have played this first. But rook b1, b6. So it's important that white cannot sacrifice and break through. So now white can't break through at all on the only open side of the board, which means the game will be decided by the fact of whether or not black can successfully attack here. If black chooses right now, I'm not going to attack, okay, we get like a peaceful resolution because white has no breaks. White cannot break through. If white starts trying to break through, you take and you have an attack down the H file. So Irina plays f3. Carissa plays f6. White goes back to c1 with the knight. Carissa goes queen g7. White plays knight b3. And now, again, the question is black going to attack? Irina at some moment could sacrifice here, just go all in, give up a knight, rip open the position, but it's insane that the bishops just aren't participating, right? It's just kind of a crazy position. So we have knight e7, bishop back to e2. Now the black king starts going to d8. Carissa's like, I want to move the king the other way. Bishop back to f2, knight g6, knight d2, king back to c7. What you're doing here is you're finding a plan, but you're also trying to play practically because the opponent doesn't have as much time as you. Irina plays knight to f1, knight to e7, knight to e3, queen h7, king f1. And right here was the big moment. If Irina had kept shuffling, like for example, bishop f1, just don't touch anything, there is a chance Carissa would have went f5. There is a chance. The problem is after pawn takes f5 and knight takes f5, bishop d3 wins the game. So you have to find another way to do it. Irina doesn't like what's happening here and plays king to f1, and suddenly f5 is possible. Because now, after pawn takes, knight g4 has to be played, because if you go here, I take. And if if bishop takes, of course, this, if king e2, I just come back. So that's not good. King f1, takes, and now Carissa has broken through. But this is not the end of the story. This is just, we're like in chapter 3 out of 7, all right? We break through on that side of the board. Irina shuts it down. So now we can't break through. There's no break. Maybe we got to sacrifice a pawn. Maybe she's going to prepare that. She puts the rook on the f-file. Knight has to move. Then white's got a pawn, a bishop, and a king. King goes back to g1. That sort of feels wrong. It feels like you got to go this way, but like, can you really run your king to the center? I don't know. She runs the king back to the corner. Now the knight gets out of the way. The queen opens up. Apparently a wrong move, because after bishop e3, white is straight up just threatening to take a pawn. Now she defends herself. Irina backs out of the position, and Carissa here plays probably the move of the game. I mean, the move this just sends the game into total chaos. If Irina is able to create a blockade in the center of the board, like rook e8, knight e4, black's attack is gone. And on top of that, black left weaknesses, and white is going to go hunt them down, and then white is going to win the game. So what she does here is she plays e4. This is called a clearance sacrifice. You are clearing out the square for the knight on e5. The best move now for white is the move knight takes e4. Evidently, Irina didn't like that move because g4 looks super problematic, because it destabilizes your position. But here, white is okay. If white continues to gallop into the position, gets the knight to e6, probably Irina saw this and was like, I'm not so sure about this position, but she's actually doing just fine. But this is chess. You don't always play the best move. Here she plays f takes e4. And she misses. I mean, Carissa's a Gotham subscriber, right? At this point, who isn't in the universe? And so Carissa in this position sacrifices the rook. The rook obliterates the key defender of the white position. Rook takes f2, removing the defense of e4, but also removing the only piece that could have potentially caused any problems to the black position. Rook takes f2, king takes f2, queen takes e4, and we enter the part of the game where absolute pandemonium is about to take place. First of all, black is playing with no rook. I'm not sure black has moved the bishop. I haven't counted, but it's been 33 moves, and Carissa hasn't moved the bishop on c8. The only thing that's helping the queen are these two pawns. White takes the pawn on g5, allows the queen into the g2 square. The king continues to run, Carissa still does not activate any pieces. It's just the queen and the pawn doing the dirty work, but that pawn has made it the entire length of the board. If it moves and queens, there's going to be problems. But by the way, this is hanging. So one of the only two remaining active pieces in the black position is straight up going to die, and it does. So right now, Irina is up 5 points of material. Okay, make it 4. Pawn is taken with a check. This entire side of the board has been eradicated. There's nothing here. I've never seen something like this. Just empty. Emptiness. No pieces. This game is a game of halves. All right? Like, look at this. Everything, all the action is happening on the queen side. So the king goes to d2. Now, you'd think here you just play like h2, but you're not actually threatening to queen, which is why in this position, Carissa plays queen f4 check. Now, the king cannot go back to the e file because then you do threaten to queen. So king d2, queen f4 check, the king goes to c2, and look at Carissa. She's securing the bishop. But the king makes it out alive. This bozo just ran the entire length of the board and hides on a3. Dude made it from g1 to a3. He took Spirit Airlines, okay? It was not a good time, but he made it. What is Spirit Airlines in other parts of the world? I mean, all I know is like European Airlines. Is it like EasyJet? I don't know. Wizz Air? There's a million of those. I mean, there's Ryanair, but I took Ryanair like 3 times and I had a blast. Ryanair, hook it up, bro. Let's do a collab. Queen h4. Boys and girls, look at this position. This doesn't look real. How does anybody break through on this side of the board? Queen to h4 played. Now the engine is just sitting there going, it's equal. Everybody go home. Everybody go home. Nothing to see here. Position is equal. It's not equal from a human standpoint, right? Irina plays bishop d3. You're going to watch Irina's time go from 0 to 25. She didn't hack the system. This is the 41st move of the game. In top-level chess, on the 40th move, the players get some bonus time to honor and respect their ability to play the game. Queen g3 and give them more time to come up with good moves. The bishop goes back to f1. Carissa is just like bothering her opponent here. And at this point, I think she could make a draw, but here she comes activating the knight. This is insane. That knight was defending that pawn. That pawn has now been captured. So the knight attacks the bishop. Okay? If the bishop moves, black goes here. If you play rook h1, I go bishop f5, I go bishop e4, you resign. I just win the game. You can't break through here. So because white cannot commit the rook to the defense of the pawn because white has to stand over here, it's a very important moment. The knight activates, attacking the bishop and attacking this pawn. So for the moment, white is able to break through on b6. If you take on b6, you lose the game. Why do you lose the game? Because I get in with the queen. But more importantly, I get in via the opposite side. If you play knight g4, I have bishop f5 check. Right, so I'm getting my rook to g7. My queen attacks you from the side. You play h2, rook g7, king e8. There's a mate somewhere, queen d6 maybe. And there's mate everywhere. The bishop comes in, the knight hangs. You can make 2 queens. 2 queens don't matter when you get checkmated. This is a potential final position that we're looking at. Black makes the queen, woo! Black loses. It's like Quidditch. Golden snitch, you could be up like 1,000,000 goals or whatever. It doesn't matter. I never quite understood that. Can somebody explain that to me? If you get the golden snitch, you win the match, but what if you lose by points? Anyway, whatever. There's going to be Quidditch experts watching, so you will explain this to me. Anyway, instead of that, we have knight takes d3. So Carissa has taken the bishop and is attacking the queen. This is under attack, and the king is over here. Meanwhile, everything is staring at each other on this side of the board. Now, we have queen b5. And I think the move that Carissa saw when she played knight e5 at this point becomes the move of the game. This is completely brilliant what she comes up with here. She calculates knight e5, rook b6, knight d3. Here, white can play rook b7 check, king to d8, queen to b5. And by the way, you don't take the rook because the queen gets in, right? Queen b5, knight e5. And here it's not clear what the best move is, but you have rook g1 again, bishop b7, rook g8, king c7, and it's a draw after rook g7 check. Maybe Irina saw this. Maybe she thought she could play for more. Knight d3, she goes queen b5, and she must have thought she was winning here. Because in this position, Carissa uncorks the move of the game. Knight b4! The knight takes the bishop. I mean, it's like a kung fu movie. You punch, You punch that guy, you spinning back kick the other enemy, and then you do a backflip and you knock somebody out. I mean, the knight just goes bam, 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 disconnecting 19 points of material on the B file. And if you take, you simply lose the game. Because I play a takes b4 and you lose the rook. Your rook no longer defends. So knight b4 is bananas, but the position is still equal according to the computer. Rook takes a6, bishop takes a6, queen takes a5, king d7. And suddenly the computer's like, wait a minute. No, actually black is winning. So what went wrong? Well, after knight b4, you can't take the rook. Here, Irina had to again find this infiltration idea. Now, rook g1 doesn't work actually because of queen h8! Simultaneously defending rook g7 and queen takes pawn mate because of the knight on b4. Queen h8 is crazy, but you know what does work? Rook f1, because you cannot guard here. Because, for example, if you play queen h7, I go rook b8, and I'm threatening the 8th rank infiltration, and you're too slow. You play queen c2, rook f7. So, again, Irina had to find this redirect with her rook, and she misses it. She plays rook a6 because she thought she was losing her rook. Probably after knight b4 was played, she might have thought she was just losing. But yes, she has rook f1. But she goes here, and when the dust settles, she simply lost. Queen g3 check. And the king now, remember the king ran over there to be safe? Yeah, no, you're not safe. Queen e2 check. She's broken through. King b2, queen d4, queen c3, and can you believe it? The hero. There are 4 empty files on this side of the board. I've never seen something like this, ever. Nobody can stop the pawn. Nobody can get to the black king. It's one of the craziest games I've ever seen in my life. Like, and she won it. She beat Grandmaster Irina Krush, multiple-time champion, and she went to 5-0, and she won the next game, and she's 6-0. At the time of recording this, she's playing her 7th game. It's like move 10 in the opening, positions equal. She might go 7-0, 8-0, 9-0. We'll see if she can match Fabiano Caruana's start in the Singfield Cup 2014. That's a video on my channel called The Greatest Winning Streak of All Time in Chess. He went 7-0, beat like Magnus, beat a bunch of top players. So we'll see if that happens. If you want the chessboard, you want to be notified when it's live. It will be live in 3 to 4 days, hopefully. Check it out. And we got like 20 tickets left for a fan event in Stockholm. General admission. That's also in the description. Chess deck drops in a few days. We got a lot of stuff coming up, okay? Also, last thing, if you're still here and you've ever purchased my E4 course, check your inbox, because I just gave everybody who owns the E4 course on Chessly new Vienna material and a major update. So check your inbox, check Chessly. You got a little free course there. And that's all. Get out of here.